Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is the Forgetful Crafter, and today we are going to be making a corner marker for our journals. This is the first side and this is the second side. There we go. So let's get started. Okay, you're going to need a piece of cardstock that is, this is an 8.5 by 11. So we're going to cut this down. And I'm going to cut mine down to about, this is a guess, I'll measure later. I'm going to do it at about 5 inches, I think. Hopefully that'll be big enough. You know what? I'm going to make it 5 1/4. Okay. Now I'm going to get out my scoreboard. Oh, no, wait. I need to cut this first. Sorry, I forgot. I'm going to cut this at 7 3/4. So we've got it at 5 1/4 and 7 3/4. And then I'm going to get out my scoreboard and I'm going to mark this in the middle. So I've got 7 3/4. Middle is approximately 3 3/8. That's approximate. Doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just making a little tick mark. Now you're going to take your tick mark and you're going to fold one edge down. And get it straight. Straight as you possibly can. And crease. Now flip it and fold the other side down. Yeah, I didn't get it quite in the middle, but you know what? That's okay because we're going to trim. Make sure you press it down good. And then I'm going to trim this off straight. Here's my piece. So here's our flaps we just folded over. Now I'm going to run a bone folder over this. I want this to be nice and taut. There we have it. So I'll grab my book. And this is the journal that I'm working on currently. I just want to see how this is going to fit. And that fits pretty good. Now you can make these any size you want, obviously, to go with your journal. So here's one piece of paper that I have. And here's the other print that I chose. So I'm going to work with this one first. And here is my dangle piece. This is actually an earring. And that's going to go with that just fine. So I'm going to take this side. I'm going to flip my paper over. And I'm going to line this up. Oh, you can't see that. I'm going to line this up to where I have a little bit of an edge, a black edge around my cardstock. And I just want a tiny little edge. And then I'm going to make little tick marks of where this is going to be cut. And I've just given myself a little bit of an edge. So obviously you can make this, your edge as wide or as narrow as you want. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line up my tick marks. And give that a slice, and we're going to see how this turns out. Oh, I got a little crooked, so let's straighten that up. And that is much better. The next thing I'm going to do is ink my paper. And I'm going to use some peeled paint because my paper has some green in it. And I'm okay if I wrinkle my paper or anything like that. I'm not worried about that. Excuse me. So now I'm going to take this Tim Holtz tool, and it has a blade inside of it, and it roughs up the edges. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take my peeled paint again and go along these white edges now that I've made. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm okay if a little bit of white shows because it gives it texture. I'm going to lay this back down again. And there, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to do the other side. So when you make these, and if you're using directional paper, it's best to have one side done first. So this is going to go on the journal page like this. So that means that if I have anything dangling or hanging, or I want it to be facing a specific way, like for example, my earring here, I want it to hang. So I've got to make sure that when I place it on my page, it's placed properly. So I don't want it over here in the way. I'm going to hang it here on the side. So if I had directional paper, since I'm right-handed, I'm doing this side first instead of this side. So since I'm right-handed, that means I'm going to be removing it this way off of the page. So if you, let's say you had some flowers that came up the side, you might not want them over here. You want them on this edge, so you've got to be careful where you place that. Now this paper I'm using today is non-directional, so it makes it a bit easier. So now I'm going to do the other side. And I think I want to use this section over here. So I'm cutting this a little wide because I want this dark brown in my page. So I'm going to do it like this. So I'm going to mark this so I kind of have an idea of where to cut. And that's better. So now I'm going to ink this one also, and I'm going to scruff the edges on this guy too. And I'm going to work on this side, my first side. So it's handy to have an extra piece of scrap paper around. Here we go. So when you're making this, you can keep an eye on what side of the page in your journal this is going to go. Now you can obviously do it left to have this as your front and this as your back, but I'm doing it this way. So I'm going to cut out, I'm going to look at some of my labels that I have here and see which size I want. I think that's a good size right there. I think I'm going to use a book page. And I'm going to go cut this out and I'll be right back. Alright, my tag is cut out. So I'm going to ink this now. And this is going to sit here just like that. So I'm going to glue these pieces down now. Alright, since that's not cooperating, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this piece down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this earring and I'm going to loop it over the edge just like that. Make sure you have it in place the way you want it. So that's where I want that piece. And I'm going to take a piece, I think I'm going to use a piece of tape. We'll try it and see. Yep. Now we have our piece. Now you're going to grab this at the corner when you take it off your page. So this is not in the way. That's one thing, another thing you want to make sure when you're making these. Any pieces that you have that are 3D, that are bulky, you want to make sure you've got room to grab your corner piece off your book page. So now I'm going to work on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this piece down. Okay, well that's glued down. Now we get to decorate this side. Well, I do have some random things over here. And I'm just going to play with them and see if I like them or not. Alright, I think this needs a little something else. So I'm going to go through some of my die cuts and see maybe what I have that I can add to this a little bit. And it's looking a little plain. And these are from Virda with apostrophe S. Let's see what they're called. Waves. Virda's Waves. So I think I'm just going to play around with this a little bit and see what I like. think I like that. So I need to cut this one out. This die cut here. So I've got to go find something. So I'll be back. Okay, I thought I would try another piece of book page. And I like that. So I'm going to ink this up. Okay, I'm ready to glue down. And I think I'm going to put a jewel in the center here, so I need to go get that. Let's see how these are going to look in here. This one looks best. I like that. Little white, little pop of white in there. That's going to be nice. This is our corner marker for our journal. That side and that side. There we go. Let me get my journal out. And I'll stick it on a page and we'll see how it looks. So I'm going to have to help it because my pages aren't made yet, so. And there we have our corner page. Oops, here we go. There we have our corner page. And there's that side. Lovely. So y'all can see how easy they are to make and fun. I just think they're so much fun to make. And you can make them as elaborate or as plain as you want to. Thank you all for watching. Please have a beautiful day. And thank you for tuning in again. And subscribe and give me a thumbs up.